Yes, I'm Caroline Brown. I'm the Managing Director at Caja. We are a business transformation company. I always want to say small, but we're actually, I think, growing from being small to being having quite a profile out there in the market, which is good. At the LEP, I'm actually on the executive board, and I'm the vice chair of the Finance and Audit Committee as well, and get involved in quite a lot of the other activities, a part of the SPMG as well. With regards to why I'm here today having this conversation, at Caja, in terms of business consultancy, we work right the way across both the public and private sectors. And obviously both have been impacted by COVID in many different ways. And in the private sector, obviously we've seen a huge variance in the impact, right the way from those companies which have been furloughing staff through to those companies which have had to work with their staff as they've actually stayed in work throughout the pandemic. The one common theme, I think, for all of these is the impact on people's mental health, whether they've been in work or not in work, whether we're now asking people to return to the workplace from working from home. Just the whole impact, if we look at the hospitality sector, again, we're asking a lot of people who may have been at home for the last 12 months, may have even been having to shield, asking them to come back into the workplace, and the impact mentally is quite significant. I think for many people it's a great thing and they can't wait to get back to work, but for many other people I think they will be very nervous, and that will cause many issues on both sides, both employers and employees, about how to deal with making people feel safe in the workplace. And again, those implications on people's mental health is huge.
And it's not just in the workplace, is it? It's how do you get to the workplace? And that for a lot of people is a challenge. Not everyone has the luxury of having a car. So getting back onto public transport is a worry for a lot of people, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's things that up until 12 months ago we all took for granted: getting on a bus, getting on a train, going into work, being in those public spaces, for instance, as they're queuing to get on a bus or a train. And now I think they're all things that will be quite challenging to many people. I mean, obviously, if you turn the clock back 12 months ago, we worked with a number of clients, especially in the public sector, to ensure that they could go from an environment where everybody came into the office every day to overnight them having to have the capabilities, the technologies to actually allow people to work remotely from the office. So we've supported organisations in a number of ways. One is about ensuring that technology not only is there and there was the right infrastructure to support people using laptops and being able to get into systems and so on, but as importantly, how could you make that work effectively and efficiently to keep the workplace going? So we've supported both from a technical perspective, but as much so from a people perspective in working out those new processes and new ways of working, to really ensure that the end customer, in a sense, doesn't get that very frustrating message at the start of any interaction with a company, which is, I'm really sorry, we're working from home and we have to apologise because we're not working very efficiently. So obviously we've seen a lot of people working hours that suit them, hours that suit their lifestyle, and now we're going to put them back into a straitjacket in some ways by saying you potentially need to come back into the office 9 till 5. It's really, I suppose, questioning organisations to what is achievable, what's acceptable, what is effective, what's efficient, what's going to maintain productivity or increase productivity. So there's lots of conversations going on. And I suppose the final point on that is a lot of it comes back to the trust between management and employers. And I think it's still something that we don't talk transparently about, but a lot of organisations really need to resolve that trust behaviour question, in a sense, before I think the new models can really embed and be sustainable.
So your advice then is to these business owners that are starting to open back up or invite colleagues back into the workspace, getting that message right to give people the comfort and give them that sort of sense of security is really important. What else, if you sort of had any sort of top tips or advice for businesses, you know, that are, whether it's hospitality or retail that are opening back up, or even sort of office-based workers that are going to start getting back into the workplace, what advice would you give?
I think that the first thing is, don't believe that everything is just going to return to how it was 12 months ago. I think there is a need for the management team, the leadership in organisations, to actually reflect and say what has been good about the way that we've had to operate in the last 12 months and what's caused issues and difficulties. And I think it's really to learn from those experiences and then look at how you can build upon those good experiences to actually ensure that people can come back to work in a safe and secure manner. So spend the time up front planning about getting people back into the workplace. Think about the things that people are going to be worried about, that they're going to see as a risk, and when we talked earlier on about how do they get back to work, if they used to catch public transport, is that going to be something that they want to do or feel comfortable doing? What can organisations do to make that journey into work more safe and secure for them? So don't just assume that because you're telling people that they need to be back in next Monday at 9 o'clock, that they're actually going to feel safe and secure about doing that. So really spend time planning about that return to work, really, and learn. It's not all been a bad experience over the last 12 months. If we look at how organisations who spent many meetings saying, oh, we'll never make change happen in a short time scale, and you look at the organisations that had to overnight make change happen, as much as that's been difficult, there's been some really good lessons learned from it. So build on the of change that have happened in the last 12 months, but actually question and say, what can we do differently? What was good? What do we want to return to? And take that time to plan.